Hey, great talking to you. Sorry for the wind in advance. It's a little breezy today, but nice to connect with everybody again. So I guess topic number 2 is channel partners, and particularly partners in general, and how they're impacted by the Broadcom changes, and what can you do. And for our organization, both as an individual customer, so a consumer of Broadcom licenses that specializes in reselling both what I call multi-cloud architectures, private cloud for those that want their own carved out footprint so they can do with it as they see fit, or multi-cloud architecture, or a large managed Azure practice. So we have some customers that are doing both public and private cloud intertwined, or we have multi-cloud architectures where customers are doing on-prem private cloud mixed in with our private cloud and public cloud, right? So can't get much more complex than just keep repeating it's in the cloud, and you're going to be reasonably accurate since 2000, the early 2000s. So anyway, that being said, partners are asking questions like, hey, Teach, what does this look like for us? And obviously pricing from a resource perspective is changing the way in which it's consumed. So previously it was resource dependent, so like RAM, CPU. And if you look historically, this is pretty common practice for Broadcom that you're switching to, or you're switching over to, a core-based account, on the licensing. Now, it's been proposed that some folks are going to see potential discounts in terms of savings up to 35%. That's, still to be determined. But there are a couple of things I think that organizations can do in advance if you're part of the partner ecosystem. One, if you've already, I hope that you've already replied to your invitation if you've received it. We're thankful that we're one of the top 500 partners in the country. So we've had an opportunity to respond and start that whole process. If you're looking to receive one, or maybe you've been notified that you're not part of the top 500, and so it's a little bit different in what your engagement's going to look like with Broadcom going forward, I think there's a couple of basic things you could do. So the first one is find a partner that you trust. Who do you want to align with? I'll call it Survivor. Who do you want to align with to protect yourself, on the island? And certainly I think you're looking for a partner that is, willing to commit to non-solicitation, non-compete, and supports your workloads so that you can keep doing business as usual in what Broadcom's calling their white label architecture. There's still more details to be following on that, but certainly expect updates here shortly. That's one. So who are you going to align yourself with? What value do they bring beyond just scale economies on the licensing, but from the support side, what is that potentially going to look like for you? And in my opinion, what you're looking for really is, again, first and foremost, somebody that can just protect your core business, your install base. You've worked really hard to build that, so the last thing that you need is somebody coming in trying to poach that as a result of circumstances that you couldn't control. So OTAVA has a large channel program. We're seeing that we have new partners that are joining our ecosystem already, leveraging scale economies. We've been creating early letters of intent to support those organizations and help state, we understand what you want, we understand who we are, and how we operate. And so we want to protect and align and help organizations expand their opportunity in a space that we believe in very much, just, cloud technologies in general. So feel free to reach out. That's a shameless plug, I guess, as you could say, but happy to help. And if you're not interested in that, but you're looking for thought leadership, we have a lot of people that we collaborate with on a regular basis, just sitting at the board levels that we do, and being able to offer, thought leadership and insight. So again, feel free to reach out. You can check out In the Know. If you go to otava.com, there's an opportunity to register, join our mailing list, check out our podcast. There's a lot of information that we try to give out to be just good stewards within the community. There's a lot of people that give to us, so we want to give back freely. So after you figure out alignment in terms of cost and protecting your install base, I think the next one is you want to have a really clear-cut understanding of the work that is upcoming. Now, there's a little bit of detail to follow of like, what is VCF as a mandate going to look like, right? Are you going to be able to tether that? It's really, management, new metered reporting in a different architecture to the existing already installed VCD, if you're using that architecture, or just general, vSphere and the related components if you're using that architecture. That's still TBD, so we don't know if you're going to have to look at, greenfield deployments and then migrating workloads. There's a whole lot of questions on there, but it's good for you to start familiarizing yourself with what is VCF if you're not already, comfortable with that, and more from a business perspective, not technical. VCF by no means is new, but I know that there's going to be, newness to it or I guess new familiarity to it, in the sense that you might have intentionally avoided it in the past, similar that we did, just it was a whole new level of plane that had to be managed and patched and all the things that you got to take into consideration. And we found it unnecessary in that season of time, but we are early adopters of it now in this new world, so that we can meet the compliance requirement and solve for our customers' needs and serve them well. So that's your next step. Get familiar with VCF, the components of it, what's included. And then the last, and I think it's incredibly important, is really understand it from the enterprise customer's perspective, right? Because at the end of the day, that's who we all serve. And their impact is different than our impact. And so being able to educate them on the components within and the options for them, I think is going to be incredibly helpful. Certainly there's mixed emotions about what this looks like, and change in general. We have a habit as humanity to prove that we don't do really well with change consistently. But certainly being able to offer great education because you spent the time doing the research and the thought leadership connected to, what does this mean for them and how can you add value, is going to be really helpful to stabilize what is a season of chaos. So that's what I have. I guess the last food for thought that I would share with more of the channel, cloud service provider portion of this is new opportunity. There's a lot of customers that are in this stage where they have to reconsider now their long-term strategic plans and what makes sense to them. Now you add on top the accelerated adoption of generative AI, large language models, say that 10 times fast, and all those components. People were already in points of inflection for what it was going to look like to do hardware architecture refreshes to support large compute workloads, right? How they were going to organize data sets to be able to maximize the benefit of AI for their particular service segment. So I think that if you're educating yourself collectively across the board and reevaluating from your business perspective, what is your value proposition, you could still be incredibly competitive in this landscape. And I hope that your business, is never solely dependent on any one thing, right? So, be it Broadcom or Microsoft or Google or whatever else, your differentiator is the value that you bring above and beyond that. And certainly, if you've been in this space for any period of time and you have an installed customer base, you've demonstrated that value. So keep doing what you're doing, but obviously reposition yourself relative to the new changes. But being a stable anchor and providing support for customers, and separating yourselves on experience, I think is really what it's all going to come down to. And you're seeing that in every segment, not just in cloud, but hopefully helpful tips for you.